Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to the Macro Lounge podcast. I am your co-host, Chris Ball, joined by the Queen of Sparkles, Rachel Nee, live from Tauranga, looking very vibrant in the bright. I'm going to say purple, but I'm colorblind, so it could be anything. And for those of you listening on
lilac.
Spotify, who cares?
It is a purple. It's a shade of purple. I'll give it to you.
Okay, see, look. I feel okay. I feel good. This is progress for me. I'm thinking that you should just start sending me like color cue cards. Just maybe we could start like a training thing. We talked about doing some online training packages for APA. Maybe we should do that for me, for colorblind. You could just start sending me samples and be like a daily test. What colors? Like Duolingo for colorblind people. I think that would be a brilliant one.
I was actually thinking, it would be really funny if we made like the APA colors red and green, because then you wouldn't be able to see them.
Right. Okay, I can see you having one of those weeks. Right. Okay. Yes. It's been... Oh, dear. Well, we had some good feedback from last week's episode. I think a lot of people agreed with us about the various chasing of pro cards and stuff. It was quite interesting reading some of the comments. I was like, tick that person off. And I got brownie points for not cursing last week, so that's good. So I think that means I'm allowed a couple of extra ones this week.
Are you? Because we also got told we have to be more positive this week, because apparently we've been a bit negative lately.
Yes, a bit ranty was what the boss called it, and I was like, but people like it when we get salty, because it's especially apparently the what was it that Helen apparently the what was it, the auto
the subtitles
the translation was a little lost apparently, so I was like, okay, well, what do you do? But yeah, so people think that I mean, the reality of it is we sort of treat these podcasts as kind of like, we always said it was like, having a cup of coffee around the living room and just talking the shit. And the reality is, whilst we give ourselves a general outline of what we're going to discuss, it's kind of like where it goes from once we start. Really, is anybody's guess. Rachel and I kind of like, okay, start from there on.
We aren't good with scripts. We are not good with scripts, either of us. Yeah. I mean, you're better than I am, but we are better with free talking, which does result in sometimes going a little bit off tangent.
Yes. It's probably a good thing alcohol's not involved. That's all I'm going to say. Because
oh my god, imagine that would be actually really funny. Imagine one day we do a podcast and there's like a drinking cue. So every time that you say your word that you always say, I have to drink. Every time I say my word, I always say you have to drink.
I would imagine we're both relatively lightweights these days too. So that'd
be hilarious.
Yeah, there could be a lot of editing going on that one, and I don't think either of us would be. There wouldn't be enough cat pictures in the world to save us from that one.
No, but I do think that because the deeper we get into the season, the more we get stressed and frustrated because it's just busy time, and also everyone is panicking, and so I think that's also why in the middle of the season we possibly get a little bit ranty.
That's true. That's true. We probably should have tighter leashes put on us, but. I mean, I don't think it's our fault that we're left unsupervised. I think, really that sounds like other people's problem, not an us problem. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and other than being buried, yes, today.
I was going to say today's topic is very along those lines. We are talking about, because we are in the depths of prep now, and people are starting to get the prep brain, the emotions, the emotional roller coaster of prep. And so pretty much troubleshooting on prep. What is normal to go wrong or think you go wrong, and what actually is going wrong? Because there is a difference, because sometimes we think that we're not on track, or we think that something is going catastrophically wrong and it is the end of the world because prep. And it's not, I promise. It's not. So that's what we're going to go through today. What is actually a genuine panic problem and what is not. And I will give you a hint. Most things are not genuine panic problems. Very, very rarely do we have genuine panic problems.
Yeah, especially, as you said, in the deep end of prep. I mean, the reality is probably most, if you like, times when you should start freaking the hell out is during the growth season, because that is, it frequently happens as people lose focus because they think, okay, I'll dial it in. How many times have we heard people say, I'm locking in from today, or I'm dialed in. It's like, dude, you should have been dialed in from day one, because this is when the work happens. And they just start panicking, like, okay, I'm now 16 weeks out. I'm locked in. You're like, okay. But the sideways stuff, like when, where you're gaining sufficient muscle to any, fat mass that you're gaining along with it. Really, it's in the growth season when you probably have to be the most worried. It's everybody thinks I'm not losing fast enough, or I mean, I love the one 16 weeks out. I'm holding water. It's like, how can you tell?
You ain't that lean yet.
Yeah, it's like no, that's. I mean, at the risk of getting myself in trouble, which I do on a frequent basis, and I have done this live on microphones before. No, you're not holding water. You're just fat. But I don't mean that in fat shaming people. I don't need people coming at me.
You have fat. You have body fat. That's what
stage
we mean.
Fat. It's this difference. It's like no. Yeah. So yeah, it's and we talked about it the other day, Rich. Remember we were talking about prep goggles.
Mm.
Had a lot of people come out and admitting that they have that recently, which is quite interesting.
Because it's pretty much everyone gets it. I think it's probably very rare to not get some kind of prep goggles, especially if you're not like a very experienced athlete. Like if you haven't been competing for I'm going to say 3 seasons plus, I'd say it's pretty rare to not get the prep goggles.
Maybe we should start selling branded goggles. We could do that as a fundraiser.
That would actually.
Here's your prep goggles.
You can take your gym selfies with your prep goggles.
Mm-hmm. Instead of sending them starter kits with posing bikinis, or just send goggles. That'd be cool.
We could do that, and then they could actually have this would be a bit expensive, but I think the way to do that would be you'd make it like slimming lenses.
Oh, there you go, like the magic.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it is like, as you said, we're deep into prep now. There's people that are competing this weekend. There's, now it's going to start spinning off where you've got all the federations, the shows are coming up. In fact, I don't think there's a weekend where there isn't a show between now and late October, early November. I think they just go back.
Yeah, it starts, at the Auckland Champs. That's when all hell breaks loose, so end of September.
Yeah, which is the same day as ICN Nationals and the Pro Show. So, yay!
That's October, isn't it? Is that not? Oh no, that's why I've been getting confused because I didn't change the date on my calendar. Never mind.
We talked about this, Rachel. We need.
I did in my head. No, it's in 4 weeks in my brain, but then I was just looking at my calendar up on my wall, and then I was like, "Hang on, but that's actually another month." But never mind. I just didn't change it on my written calendar. I did not. Everyone who has suits sorted for that date, that's okay. Don't worry. Your suits are sorted. Don't panic. Although, message to the coaches. Oh my God, coaches, tell your athletes when to order their suits. I don't blame the athletes. I blame the coaches for not telling their athletes to order their suits early. Because
that's because a lot of coaches they're like, well, what do you mean you can't do it by Monday? How long does it take you? I mean, it's like having that discussion with the coaching around how much posing coaching costs. And like,
I mean, I feel like most coaches should know at least have at least a basic understanding of the embellished suits take time to make, and I am the only one of 2 companies in the entire country. So you need to get in early, otherwise you're going to miss out. And at the moment, I'm charging rush fees because actually, one person has just taken my last slot for the emergency South Island Champs. So I am completely fully booked for the next, 6 weeks? There is not even emergency spaces left anymore.
What about critical emergency? Is there a level above emergency?
That would probably be a bit more on the rush fee, maybe, but that would be really pushing it, and I'd have to really like you.
Yeah, but that's more to the point. It's some complete random person like, hi, and you'd be like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say flattery does work on me. If you tell me that you've followed my company for a while and that you love my designs and that you really want one of my suits, then I am going to be more likely to.
Let's be realistic. All they have to do is say, "I really love Sanji," and that would get them to the top of the pile. They're like, "Your cat is just the best."
I feel like that should be just the basics.
Yeah, but that would get the door. That would get the door open.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. That entry fee price is not that high. It's like, oh, your cat's, and you're like, you just butter. So,
it does, but yes, no, I will say again, I don't always blame the athletes because you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know to even start looking at suits early, then you're not going to find out when you're supposed to order it. So I do kind of blame the coaches for this one. Some coaches are fantastic at sending me their athletes very early, and thank you to all those coaches. But others, I'm like, oh my God, because every single time they're like, oh, I just didn't know. I'm like, yeah, your coach needs to tell you this. So coaches, please tell your athletes that they need to get their orders in, because yeah, especially this time of year when all the shows are on at once.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's part of the whole prep plan. Is it should be part of it. It's not just literally when do you start. When do you start cutting calories? When do you start increasing cardio? When da 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 da. It's in the sequence of it. When have you ordered your suit? And that should be something that I think we've got it on our checklist, Rach. I think it's like 16 weeks. To be fair, I usually tell them that when as soon as they sign up, I say start talking to Rach now. So some of them you've got people asking for 2027.
I did have one, yes. But to be fair, Chris, I know that you tell the bold girlies to order early, but unfortunately, they don't listen to you.
This is actually true. But once I've told them, you see, I have then released myself of that responsibility.
That's true.
Because I do the intro email, I go, athlete X, meet Rachel, meet athlete X. And then from that point, I am out of the equation. I
will say, the bold girlies are actually really bad with ordering these suits late.
Girls, come on. You're giving me a bad reputation.
I'm still waiting on two of them. It's okay. One of them, to be fair, I have told she's allowed to be a bit later because she's doing the last show of the season, so that's okay. But because at that point, generally, I've kind of slowed down for that last show. No, not that many suit orders come from that show generally, but
please tell me it's not a reconsideration of the color, because as far as I know, haven't we made that decision?
We have made this. No, it's just that it has not been officially ordered yet. She's got the draft, she's got the order. She just needs to actually pay for it. Same with the other one. But the other one's got plain suits, so that's okay.
That's right. Not so bad. But yeah, that's actually a really important part about the prep, and that's one thing that if you're a week out and you haven't done it, it's probably time to pay.
1 week out, if you have not got a suit, that is a crisis mode. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that's you're lucky if you can get a rental and it's whatever color Rachel's got left on the. Yeah, I actually am convinced you've probably got a set of like really hideous colors that you save for those ones that it's like, this is like, if you're in the week of, it's like, you can have a choice. You can have yellow.
But to be honest, because the week of, like, even like shipping, for example, that's getting risky. Like, I do not like to touch peak week. You should have a suit sorted before peak week. And if your suit is not sorted before peak week, that is cause to panic, I'm going to be honest. If it's something like a connector breaking, that's fine. That's something that can be sorted. But yeah, if it's like you just don't have a suit at all, that's the problem.
Yeah. That's definitely an issue, and that's probably a them issue, not a you. It's like, okay, so yes.
Anyway, coming back to the actual.
See, as I said, random. Off we go. So people start panicking over one data point, one variable, right? One day.
Chris has lots of experience with this.
Yep. I'm not going to name any names or tell any tales because there are certain people who feel that every example I bring up, it's oddly enough, there's 2 and 3 ladies in particular that I can use any example, and they all think I'm talking about them.
Shows that they all do the same thing.
It shows they've got very guilty consciences. That's what I'm saying. It's like, well, actually, I wasn't, but now that you bring it up, it's very valid.
It does also work.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't thinking of you at the top, but yep, that would be very valid. But everybody has that thing. Like, I don't know, something's. For some reason, they've had a change in work schedule, or they've had to miss some cardio, or there's always the miraculous wedding that popped up in the middle of prep. It's like, pretty sure that kind of gets blamed about. But it's one day is one day, and the reality of it is, an athlete tends to panic when things change. And weirdly enough, it's whether it changes for the better or the worse. It doesn't really matter. It's like if there's suddenly an 800-gram drop in one day, and they're like, oh my God, Chicken Licken, the sky is falling. And if there's an 800-gram increase in one day, it's like, oh my God, my prep's ruined. I'm just an elephant. Some of the messages I get, I'm just like, I always know it's bad when it's a voice note, because I'm like, oh God, this is too long to type. And you're like, speaking of the devil. When you get those messages and you're like, oh, Jesus. But that's the thing. It's, it's a process and it takes time. And the reality of it is can't panic about one thing, like didn't get, went to the gym. I just couldn't get a pump. It's, one of the things that's like, okay, did you eat enough carbs today? Did you cut your sodium for some stupid reason? What was it you were doing?
Also, if you're in prep, you're low on carbs, it's going to be hard to get a pump.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get a pump. I mean, that's just a physiological fact. So it's like, so why do you think they give you carbs before you go on stage? It's so you don't walk on stage going, looking like all stuff, I think. But athletes, they do. They look at it's very, very difficult for people in prep to actually lift their head up and look over what's right in front of them because they're so focused on the there and the now. Like, how many times in posing close range do we have? Like, how easy is it to knock them off center when you're sort of just like, I'll say one thing like, I didn't like the way the heel needs to move out. And suddenly it's like, I can't pose to save myself. You're like, no, you just need to move your heel. It's just random.
Yeah, no.
But it's
in anything that, like, everything feels bigger in prep, but you get quite emotional because I mean you're low on food, your body is like quite stressed out. It like cortisol generally going to be a little bit higher, which means you're going to be a little bit stressed in general, which means everything that happens is going to often be blown a little bit out of proportion. So we thought we'd talk about that today because, again, most people are starting to get to that phase at the moment. And it is important to, yes, you still feel the feelings, but logically you can still know, okay, actually, I know it's not a big deal. It feels like a big deal, but I logically know that it shouldn't be. And you can kind of use that to help calm yourself down. You can still check in with your coach, but then it helps just, instead of being like, I look like an elephant, you can be like, okay, so I feel like I'm holding a lot of water. I feel like I look really soft, but I also know that my period is next week. Can you just like take a look at this and tell me, have I destroyed my prep or is it just my period?
And
so then at least you can be a little bit calmer.
Yeah. My standard answer to that, what do you think my answer to this is going to be? Okay, you're going to tell me that my period's due next week. And I go, and what happens every time you get your period? And they're like, I retain a little bit of water and I start cramping. And you think that's going to change because of prep? No. But the thing is, like, when you have these variables that do happen, they go up and down. I mean, I've seen people go, one standard drink can easily gain 500 to 750 grams of, and it's water weight. And that's just inflammation. It's just your body doing what it's supposed to do. But it's weird to then go out and say, I just had one glass of champagne at this wedding. And it's like, you're like, well, did you really blow up? Or is it just the scales have just gone a little bit? So it's, even if it's a one-day blip, you kind of got to really look at the trend of what has been going on over the last week. It's normally not an isolated thing, right? It's normally not just that day, your weight's jumped up by 1.2 kilos. Now, it can happen, but then again, it's like, well, what's the realistic reason for that? And generally, it's going to be something fairly obvious. It's going to be something, it's not going to be, something that you did by mistake. It's not going to be, the gods have spoken and suddenly said, no, it's your turn to be an elephant. It's, it's looking back at what did you do yesterday or the day before that was slightly different. Have you actually been adhering to your plan? And look, athletes are sensitive souls during prep. And weirdly enough, they don't like being called out and saying, well, I would suspect that the information you're giving me is not 100% accurate. And they're like, I've been following it perfectly. You're like,
have you?
See?
I will say though, I think like with this whole conversation, a little bit of a side note, it kind of outlines though why it's so important for athletes to actually learn why they're doing what they're doing and why things are happening. Like, you shouldn't really just dead set follow the plan, don't think about anything. Like, I mean, you can, but I would recommend against it, especially for first timers or second timers. If you're newer to the sport, I would absolutely recommend learn and ask questions, because when you learn about why things are happening. So for example, when you're on your period, a lot of people will gain at least 1 kg of water weight. Common, okay? If you learn that that's a pattern for you, and you learn, okay, this is why, then the next time it happens, you don't have to panic. If you do not learn and ask questions, every single time it happens, you will panic. So it is really, really important to actually learn the whys. Why are you doing said thing? And what is the result? And what is the result if it doesn't happen? Because again, then you know this is why I need to do XYZ. And if I don't, this is what's going to happen. And then when you don't do it, you know, okay, yes, it's because I didn't do XYZ. If you don't learn, again, you go into panic mode because you have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. And the reality of it is the deeper in prep that you are and the leaner that you are, the more extreme the swings are going to be. If you're less likely to gain 1.2 kilos overnight in the middle of your growth season than you are 2 weeks out, because your body is a lot more sensitive. It's a lot more highly strung that a small variable can throw, but it doesn't necessarily throw you off track, because last time I checked, judges don't run up on stage. Excuse me, you just need to jump on the scales. I'm sorry. You've clearly put on 1.2 kilos.
Chris, actually, there is a piece of news. Sorry, interrupting breaking news.
Shocking.
The IFBB has announced that Figure is going to get weight caps at the Olympia.
No, what they announced is that they're going to weigh them at the Olympia so that they can then make a decision of whether they should introduce a weight cap. Which is interesting, because what they are now obviously admitting is, we got a problem. These girls are getting big. And well, do they really need to enforce a weight cap, or is it really just to get ourselves in trouble? Or do the judges just have to turn around and go, you're too big, we're not rewarding you the place?
Yeah, I mean, I have actually seen some really good points on that it's going to be very dangerous for females to have weight caps, because then starts
they're going to push.
Yeah, well, you're not going to try and be under the weight cap. You're going to try and be over the weight cap and then drop as much weight as you can for the weigh-ins, it gets dangerous. So, yes.
More dangerous for female athletes than it is for male athletes. And to be fair, just a slight sidetrack, there was recently some, athletes in the US, female athletes, who you wouldn't really expect are heavy diuretic users and having this as an issue, who have had medical emergencies in some cases. Some have passed away. I don't necessarily agree. I don't think they need a weight cap. I just think they need, I'll say it. They just need judges to grow a set of balls and say, this is not what we're looking for.
That's fair. Valid.
Yeah. It's problem solved, really, isn't it? Don't need to weigh them. Just like, nope, not what we're looking for.
Anyway, that was our sidetrack. Sorry. I just figured we should probably actually mention that.
We should start counting sidetracks. You go, sidetrack number 1.
Well, that's our drinking game right there.
Yeah, no, it's not going to go.
But yes, no. The judges do not care how much you weigh on stage. They do not care. The weight is a data point. And I actually have this with my clients as well, because whenever that people come in and I'm taking their measurements, or I'm looking at how a suit is fitting them, they're like, oh, I'm not lean yet, or like, oh, sorry, like my stomach. And I'm like, I really don't care. I care how, about making the suit fit you. Everything else is just data. I don't give a shit. So it's the same with as you're getting leaner. Chris does not care if your weight goes up slightly. It's a data point. If your photos still look better, if you look leaner in your photos, but your weight has gone up, Chris is like, great, awesome, you look better.
Yeah, it's like, woohoo, winning. But that's a really hard thing. Probably harder, more so for female athletes. From a male athlete perspective, this is when it gets into the water loading and the water cutting, when you can drop a shit ton of water and you need to have the look. But from a female athlete perspective, you're going to have more variables. You're going to have more ups and downs. Even if you look at, obviously, generally the scales are obviously going down. But it's not always a directly linear relationship. I mean, it's usually...
Or sometimes it just goes flat for a while.
Yeah, for a while. And then it's like, well, doesn't necessarily mean take away more food or add more cardio. It's more like, okay, are we looking at fatigue markers? Are we looking at anything from a health, do we have to get blood work done and look at inflammation markers and all that sort of carry on? And that's where the communication is probably more important. It's like, what is going on? Like, if you've got, one of the clients has got, I think she said 20 of her son's kids in the class were off with the flu or influenza in one day. The chances are, children as lovely as they are, they're also little disease monkeys and they bring everything home. And when you're eyeball deep in prep, your immune system is pretty sensitive. The chances are, if you haven't caught it, you will catch it.
Which is why you always hear about people getting sick 2 weeks out from their show all the time.
Yeah, And you're
all
like,
the
shocking.
time.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is the worst timing." I'm like, it's also very, very, very common. Like,
Yeah, it's like this is just par for the course. In going back to the scales, and I think that's one of the challenges of being. I don't like the term online coach, but a remote coach is you frequently that is one of the few actual trackable data points you have to go on as a scale, and that's why I encourage people to do circumference measurements and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's not accurate, but it's another data point that you can take into it. But if they've stopped moving in prep, it's you kind of got to start thinking more about what has changed or what has happened before you just start making arbitrary changes. Has your digestion changed? Like, when was the last time you actually had a bowel movement? And these things start becoming outside of your normal pattern when you're, in that final stages of prep, because your body is outside of its normal. It doesn't want to be where you're putting it. At the end of the day, your body wants to be an elephant. It doesn't want to be a sleek running gazelle. Got all these animal words. I don't know what the hell's going on. You're putting your body into somewhere it doesn't want to be. And come hell or high water, it's going to try and tell you that it doesn't want to be there. So, you have to look at everything, not just the one thing. And that one thing isn't just the scales or the photo. It can't just be the photos either, because invariably it's like, did you take them at the same time of the day? Did you take them in the same lighting? Did you take them? There's a whole bunch of things.
because even same time of day, the lighting can change depending on the weather, depending on the time of year, even. So there's always going to be things that are different. And then you can also be like very annoying, like me. And I've gone 8 weeks without dropping weight while on prep. 8 weeks. I was starting to get a little stressed at the 6-week mark, I will admit. It's just a little bit. But then, sometimes your body just holds, and then suddenly it's like kaput, all the weight drops. So occasionally, like, it is coming, it just hasn't happened yet. So sometimes you just, be calm.
That's when you have to look at the other variables. It's like, if the weight isn't dropping, but you can clearly see in the pictures that the composition is changing, it's more than likely going to be that your body is trying to compensate in other ways to preserve itself. So, yes, the body fat might be dropping, the scales might not be doing anything. But as it's dropping body fat, it could be retaining water from inflammation. It could be all sorts of different things. That it's not until the body sort of kind of goes, okay, she's not trying to kill me, and then you'll see the scales go, it'll drop back down. And it might continue down for a little while and then it will plateau again, but it doesn't necessarily mean your progress is plateaued. It just means that one particular data point is plateaued. So, for the love of all things, don't focus on your scales. There are other things that are more important.
100%. And then, the sky is not falling if the scales aren't dropping. Don't panic, calm down. And then remember, you hired your coach for a reason. So any concerns, ask your coach, stay calm. The more you panic about it, the worse it will be. Like, honestly, especially, oh my God, at like 3 weeks out, the worst, or even like, especially in peak week, to be honest, the absolute worst thing you can do is panic. Absolute worst thing. Because that's when you're still going to start holding water, blowing up like a water balloon. Like, and that's your own fault at that point, because you stressed out about nothing. I'm going to be honest. Sorry, that one was blunt. But try to just not panic if something's going wrong. Remember, it's actually, you pay your coach for a reason. Okay? Make it a them problem.
Thanks. Yeah. But I mean, it's genuinely not a one answer fits all. You do have to look at everything. It's like, okay, what has changed? As you said, stress and cortisol. Has your sleep changed? Are you actually getting any sleep? Are you going to bed at a different time because you're tired? Are you doing less minutes in the gym than you actually think you're doing? It's like, is your intensity gone down? What's your recovery like? There's a whole bunch of reasons that it can happen. And if your coach is just arbitrarily telling you, okay, we're now 12 weeks out, so we're dropping. And I've seen this. It's like a magic formula. It's like we start off in a deficit of 500 calories, and then every 4 weeks we take 250 away, and then it's another 250. It doesn't matter if the scales are still moving. It's like, well, I'm losing weight at 1,700 calories. Why do I need to go to 1,500? because that's how we do it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Easy.
cool.
I do think
Just
also the other thing that I think athletes often don't understand is that the leaner you get, the larger a small change looks. So if you have, let's use money as an example. Okay, so if you have $100, right, $5 doesn't seem like a huge amount. But if you have $10, that's half. Like that's suddenly a lot
And you
more.
said you can't do math.
I know. I used easy numbers to be fair. But if you get the same amount of bloating, for example, when in off season, and then you get that exact same level of bloating when you are 4 weeks out, it is going to look significantly more dramatic. If the smaller changes look a lot bigger, like even so, dropping half a kg when you are lean is a much bigger difference than dropping half a kg when you are not lean. So those small changes just they look bigger. So that's why it's also important to just realize that sometimes it hasn't gone catastrophically wrong. It's just, I know, I got that. It's just something that does normally happen for you, but you haven't realized that that's actually the level that it has always been.
Yeah, and it's, as you said, if you've got I literally just had this discussion with an athlete this morning. She weighs like 48 kilos. And it's like, well, I'm not expecting to see a 1 kilo drop every week at 48 kilos. It's like, you just don't have the mass for that, and you shouldn't be losing at that rate. And the reality is 200 grams is a good amount because that works in with the plan. But yeah, the smaller you get, the bigger any variable will look. More than likely, the variable will look massive to you, and your coach will be like, yeah, cool, as you were, nothing to see here, keep on going. But it's, that's when you have to look at all those different things. Like, as I said, I'm not a really huge step count person, but for some people it works. But like, if you're used to doing 15,000 steps and now you're doing 10 for whatever reason, but you're still consuming the same amount of calories. If you're used to training for 60 minutes plus cardio, and now for some reason it's gone down to 45 minutes because you're just tired and you're not being able to get through it. All of these things add up, and the leaner you get, the more extreme any modification is going to look. So that's why it's really important to communicate any small change with your coach so that they can make that adjustment. I mean, your total daily energy requirements are going to be less as you get leaner. So obviously that's why they say, food needs to come down. But it also needs to be done in relation to, for example, is your training being affected? Like, are you fatiguing too early? Are you not recovering fast enough? All of these different things. Those are all markers of things that need to be addressed. And it's not normally addressed by making the situation harder. Prep is hard enough. Anybody who tells you prep's easy is they're lying, because it's
or they just
not.
they haven't done a proper prep.
Yeah, or I mean, it shouldn't be soul destroying, but but it's being able to openly communicate about any changes that have happened. I mean, God, I hate to think about the number of conversations I have on a daily basis around poop. It's like, great. Went to school for how many years?
And then this is Know Your Life.
Yep. It's like, hey, my parents are so proud. I spent all that money on university education for you to talk about crap.
Literally. Yeah. Literally.
Sometimes the answer is, when there's a change, is literally to give it more time. And that doesn't necessarily mean not doing that show. It could mean just needs another day. It could mean let's reassess, if it's say on Friday, let's look at it on Monday, see what's happened. And then you can make modifications that either are for backing off, because sometimes that's actually beneficial for the body, or you can make modifications that have to be accelerated in order to get past it. Like some people, for example, they respond better to going hard and fast to start off with in prep and then cruising. And other people just need to be constant, and other people need to be just full on balls to the wall the whole time. And everybody's different. So yeah, sometimes it's just give yourself a little bit of breathing space. You haven't screwed anything up because you gained 800 grams overnight.
And then do not go and ask 50 million people what their thoughts on your situation are.
Yep. Or ask ChatGPT.
Oh my god, do not ask ChatGPT. Do not ask ChatGPT, please. Dear Lord.
I didn't tell you this, but there's one person just a very long message about these different things. And I actually had to say to them, it's like, if you're going to start asking me questions that are clearly written in ChatGPT or with an AI model, I'm going to respond with an AI model. Let's just say I sent them an 8-page response.
Jesus. Just remember, ChatGPT usually gets things wrong. Like, for example, ChatGPT told me that I should wear the color orange on stage.
Okay, move on. But it's, sometimes, when you're super lean and you're getting into the, that is also when, simultaneously at the same time, that you can be more subjected to digestive issues and bloating and stuff like that. And if, fortunately, your whole hormonal system stays healthy through the whole prep and you're still maintaining a menstrual cycle, which is a good sign, the normal effects that you are generally experiencing throughout your hormonal cycle outside of prep are going to be exaggerated in prep. It doesn't mean your prep's screwed up. It just means your body is it's just a little bit more obvious what's going on.
He's just doing his thing, unfortunately. Being a female's fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
And let's face facts, if males had to go through any of this stuff, we would have tapped out a long time ago, would we not?
Oh my god. Ed had some stomach cramps the other day, and I thought it was hilarious, okay? Because he's like curled up on the couch, right? Like, I can't move, but like being so dramatic about it. And I was like, I do this fucking every month.
I heard that one. I had a stomach, the ab muscle cramped, and I thought I was going to die. I couldn't straighten up, and you're just like screaming in pain. And let's just say my lovely wife was less than sympathetic. It was just like, you complete pussy. I'm like, call the ambulance. Yeah, no, we're soft.
You guys are wimps.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I literally do this every single month for like 3 to 6 days, and he's like, how no. I was like, okay, see, now this is what. So, and he's like, oh, can you please bring me some like a drink or something? I'm like, so see, it's what you need to do for me every time.
Yeah. No.
Anyway.
Yeah, we wouldn't cope.
No, you wouldn't. But yes, no, it is very common, especially again, period fluctuations. Like it's gonna be more dramatic, and a lot of time people will look at themselves with those prep goggles and they'll think, oh my god, I look so soft, like I'm not lean enough. That's probably, but I'd say that's the common one, I'm not lean enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You will never think you are lean enough.
Yeah. Or I'm flat, I'm watery. And the reality of it is, the deeper in you get into prep, as we said before, the more dramatic any little change is going to be. It's like, you might be holding a little bit of water. You might be a little bit bloated, but this is normal, and when that's happening 2, 3, 6 weeks out, that's life. Just, okay, you don't look as, I saw this girl on stage in this show last weekend and she was just so much better than ahead of me. I said, yeah, she was on stage. That's when they were aiming for. You're not. It's, those little things when you're literally at this stage of prep where, things are starting to come together, whether it's carbs, sodium, water, sleep, stress, training. Rachel hasn't had a coffee. All of those things can make a massive difference. But it's not a massive difference. It's 500, 800 grams. And I can tell you what, you did not eat 500, 800 grams worth of fat overnight. It's either, you've got a bit of water retention or you need to take a good dump.
Probably the latter, to be honest. It's considered good luck if you're able to actually take a shit on show day, on the morning before your tan. If you're able to take a shit before you get your top coat on, that is a good sign.
That's a good sign?
That is like a blessing from the prep gods right there.
Interesting.
But no, one thing I do really think that we need to go through is the I'm flat situation. Because again, that is a big one.
Yeah,
you will be flat.
I've lost my glutes. I'm like, that's actually that one came through yesterday. She's,
I wonder who
it's
that
definitely
was.
kicked in. And said, I've lost. And I was like, have you seen the size of your glutes? Actually,
was that who I'm thinking of?
Yeah, of course it was.
Okay.
And it's like, no, but it's, Yeah, I'm losing muscle. And you're like, if only it was that easy.
You know, you are going to be flat. You have not had carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Okay, so your muscles are not full. You do not have anything in there right now. They are like little sad little balloons. Okay, they don't got any air in them. Yeah, they're all pretty much they're deflated and sad, and that's why you don't have that fullness because you're not trying to have that fullness right now. You honestly like you should be flat a little bit in prep, and yes, that is also why you can't get a pump. That's why your workouts don't feel as good. If you it doesn't mean that you've lost your muscle. Same with losing strength. Well, yes, you have lower energy. You do not have the same energy supplies that you usually have. Your body is like, we need to conserve this energy to stay alive.
I have enough trouble getting out of bed. There is no way I'm getting on the stair climber. Like, good. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you train legs, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna be hard and it's gonna feel tiring. It's not because you've lost all your muscle.
And recovery will be a little bit slower, which is why we tend to allow a little bit more recovery time between muscle groups when you're on prep, rather than say during your growth season where you want to hit it as much as possible because you're shoving as much glycogen and protein into your body as you can to make it respond. It's kind of the other way. You need to maintain that lean muscle and beat the shit out of it every day in training, and doing legs, 4 or 5 times, 3-4 times a week is going to deplete your glycogen stores. It's going to affect your fatigue levels. It's going to affect how full you're looking. And the reality of it is, as Rich said, we're pulling away what your body tends to want to use as fuel, which is glycogen. We're wanting it to use fat. I was listening to Lee Haney last week, and he was talking about, he's been asked about if he ever did like these low carb type preps. It's almost keto, right? So you're getting down to the super low carbs. And he's like, no, that's for fat boys. I was like, which, oddly enough, he's not wrong, because we're trying to tell the body to use fat resources as energy rather than breaking down protein muscles or use glycogen. We're trying to get it to actually use what it's been storing for a rainy day. And the human body, being a stubborn little SOB, it doesn't want to use those fat stores.
No, it's not stubborn. It's lazy. It's lazy because burning carbohydrates is significantly easier. Yes. If you're, let's compare it to like a hike, for example. So carbohydrates is a nice flat walk. Okay, that's us burning carbohydrates. Nice flat walk. It just happens. Burning fat is our uphill hike. The body don't like to do that. It's hard. It's effort. Would you rather go on your uphill climb, or would you rather walk on a nice flat ground when you are tired? You are tired at this point, by the way. We got to emphasize that because the body is also tired. So at this point, the body's like, well, no, I'm tired. We don't have much energy. Give me some of the flat stuff. Give me a flat walk. I don't want to climb up that hill. Why are you trying to make me climb up this hill?
Yeah, give me the good stuff. Leave those hills to Talia. That's her job. She likes doing that shit. I'm like, no. I'll do the lakeside walk.
She's spicy in the brain.
This is you said it, not me. I'm not getting in trouble for that.
I'm allowed to. Yeah, we've got a very similar level of spice flavors.
But the other thing is like, okay, looking flat, and you're going to look flat to a certain extent, right? It's going to affect your recovery, and it's going to come down to basically what the diet that you're on. But you're on that particular diet, or whatever you want to call it, meal plan, to achieve a certain result. And the only way you can achieve it is by being in a deficit and giving your body less than it needs to perform basic functionality. You will not lose fat by, it's actually physically impossible to lose fat. People say, oh, well, you can just do more exercise. Well, dickhead, work it out. If you do more exercise, you're therefore burning more energy, which means you are in a deficit. So shut up, you moron. Sorry. Whoops.
Actually, I want to place some emphasis on something quickly. So the other thing with the feeling flat, feeling like you've lost all your muscle, the other thing that plays into that is the fact that, yes, you have lost fat. So you are flat because you don't have any glycogen in your muscles, so your muscles are not as puffy, nice big balloons as they usually would be. At the same time, you have also lost body fat. So yes, in general, you will look smaller. So that actually is like a double whammy on how small it makes you look. Okay, so that's why it seems like all of a sudden, holy shit, I've lost all my muscle. Oh my God, I look tiny. No. You've lost the body fat, and also we like to say you generally, in most cases, you're fatter than you think you are in bodybuilding. It sounds
Yep.
savage, but in a lot of cases, like there's a few that are the other way around, but like in most cases, it's like you have less muscle and more fat than you think in most cases. So I mean, you've lost your body fat. Like I mean, Chris can see it. He knows where the muscle is. Usually you can see kind of where the muscle and where the fat is, but untrained eye, you don't know that necessarily. So you have, yes, lost a lot of size from losing that body fat and also from losing the fullness of your glutes. So that's ultimate shrinkage. You are looking significantly smaller. Doesn't mean you've lost all your muscle. That is normal.
And just to make people feel even worse, who are worried about that sort of stuff, it's like you will lose some muscle. That is, again, there's no miracle. Well, you can run a shitload of gear, but as a rule, if you're losing when you are in a deficit, you will lose a certain percentage of what you lose will come from lean muscle, lean tissue. The trick is making that percentage as small as possible. But yes, you will lose some. But that's not, I've lost all my muscle. Like, no.
Would you say that the body using kind of like muscle as fuel rather than fat is like, it's not the steep uphill climb. It's like it's like it's uphill, but it's not as steep as the fat. Is it? Or is it about
Your body will break down proteins before it'll break down fats. It's really thick.
Because muscle's a metabolic tissue. Muscle burns calories, and your body's like, hang on a second. Why are we keeping this here? We want to conserve calories. This thing is burning calories. Get rid of it.
Pretty much. It's like,
Yeah.
And that's why it becomes a very delicate balance. But no, you're not going to suddenly look like shit because I've lost all my muscle mass. It's like, no, you're just not able to display it as fully as you would like because you are still carrying a reasonable amount of body fat. You are still carrying some water. So, yeah. And remember, you shouldn't look like you can step on stage 8 weeks out.
100%. Unless, if you're one of those people who have been in the sport for a very long time, you might not be peaked, but like if you've done a very lean off season and you've been in the sport for a long time, then potentially you could look like you could step on stage. Maybe not at your best, but
yeah, you look like you are a competitor, but you shouldn't be looking like what you think you should look like before stepping on stage. And
your brain is always tricking you. Do not trust your brain on prep. Don't trust it.
But the biggest thing is people say, "Oh, my training's gone to shit." That one's probably a little bit more legitimate, and it's probably something that I look at more than a scale weight number or something like that. It's like you have to expect some drop off in performance, right? There are very few athletes like Ronnie Coleman in squat who would deadlift 600 kilos the week before the Olympia, and still manage to max out stuff. You're like, there's very few of those people around. So generally, you are a little bit lighter. Yes, you have lost a little bit of muscle mass, but also your recovery and your fatigue levels are going to be off the charts. So, the reality of it is you're going to take longer to recover from less. So that's why prep is not the time to destroy the body with really high intensity exercise. I do know some coaches that's basically just go hard or go home. Even you should be, everything should be balls to the wall. You should be puking after every workout. It's like, okay, right. But you can't expect to be getting PBs every time when you prep. Some people can, and some people do. Their strength drop off is minimal, but that's more an exception than the norm. So if you do find that it's markedly dropped in a very constrained period of time, that's a discussion you should be having with your coach, and it can mean that there needs to be some modification made to your training style, to the food that you're getting in. Like some people actually respond during prep to higher carbohydrates than other people. So some people you have to keep with. Got one of the girls on the team. I won't name her or won't tell her how many grams of carbs she's getting because every other girl on the team hunt her down and hurt her. But she burns through carbs like it's oxygen. And if we took the carbs away from her, she would lose everything. But especially if it's your first show, you don't know this. You don't know what your body's going to do. But if it's affecting your performance in the gym where you're taking too long to recover, your fatigue is beyond that stiffness and soreness, and you're dragging your ass to gym. You're dreading going to the gym because you're just that wiped. There are some variables that need to be addressed, and it's something that you really should be taking seriously at this time.
Okay,
You
to be
cannot
fair,
run.
at like 4 weeks out, you are generally going to be feeling like, oh, I don't want to go. I would rather go home and
Yep.
sleep. So you will
Yep.
be
And
dragging
in
your
some
you will
and
be
in some
dragging your
cases, you
Thursday.
should go home and sleep. You know, some
That's fair.
cases it should be like it is better for you to go home and sleep than it is to try and bust out 40 minutes on the stairmaster. And it does reflect what you're putting in. So the less you're putting in, the less your body can produce. We were talking to somebody just recently, and their coach had them on 400 calories or something, and I was like,
Wait, who? 400.
hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much what I said. I was like, so they basically gave you a sniff of a raspberry jam jar. That's you for the day.
That's crazy. I've never
Yeah.
heard of someone that low. I thought like I think the lowest I've ever heard of is like 700.
Yeah, about the low. This was the worst case I've ever heard of.
Holy shit.
So yeah, it was pretty bad. And it was also the first time this coach had ever prepped somebody. So that was one of those ones where you go, that's
This
probably
coach
not a
should
good
never
idea.
prep someone ever again.
No.
If this was you, please don't prep anyone. I'm sorry. That's not okay. That's
Find a different career. So, but you've got less coming in, so therefore, you can produce less. But that's when you really do have to look at what your performance levels are. Like, if it's consistently declining, if the recovery is getting worse, if your fatigue is lasting longer, if you're just absolutely exhausted all the time, you kind of got to look at that as a whole picture. It's like, what is causing this? And it's not just because you're in prep, and it's not just because you're in a calorie deficit. It's like, if it really feels like it's soul destroying and sucking the moisture from your mere being, well, and especially if it's not producing a result, then you've got to look at that all in together. But generally, that's actually one of the biggest red flags for me, is when you're seeing that performance dropping off in the gym. Like, if the weights start going through, or the reps start dropping through the floor, and the recovery period gets longer, it's like that's generally, to me, is a little bit more of a red flag than just I'm feeling a bit puffy.
well, it's not, the people don't usually say just I'm feeling a bit puffy. They're like, I've blown up. I'm so fat.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how it goes. But yes,
Yep.
in general, just like most things are very fixable. Most things are not the end of the world. Like if you are bloated, if the scale isn't moving, all of that can be fixed. Chris, would you say what would you say is crisis level emergency?
Crisis level emergency is more going to be based around digestion. Like, if you actually haven't had a bowel movement for like 8 days, which I have seen happen before, that's something you really do have to tell your coach about. And you shouldn't be embarrassed about talking about how many times you've taken a crap. It's important information, because that's an indicator that something is wrong. If you suddenly start retaining a lot of subcutaneous water, and particularly say around your ankles, and you start puffing up, it's like, okay, we're now dealing with medical related issues. Things like, okay, you're going to feel fatigued. Sometimes you're going to have issues with maybe feeling a little bit dizzy, like if you get up too quick, and blood pressure can be affected, resting heart rate can be affected. A lot of those things where they're actually a physical, there's those physical red flags. Those are the emergency things for me. Like, if you are, you cannot function. You cannot. I promise I was going to. But somebody who remained nameless drove through a red light earlier yesterday because they were deep in prep and they didn't look the right way. We won't name that person.
No, but I have had a friend before who I believe she had 3 car crashes in her prep. I did tell her she was banned from driving after the 3rd one.
It's probably a good move.
At that point, when you when you're not safe to drive, that's that's bad. Like you should not be at that level. You need to be able to function enough to be able to drive, because you obviously need to get to A to B. You need to be able to work.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very that. I think the main point here is that most of those crisis level emergencies are not what you think they are. Like, most cases, the athlete doesn't think that's a crisis level emergency. They're like, oh, I'm just really tired. But on the coach's side, you're like, yeah, no, something's wrong here.
Yeah,
Or
your
same
eyes
with
just roll back in your head. That's not a good sign.
you think the crisis level is, oh, I don't look good enough. No. That is something that we can work on. When it becomes medical, that's when it becomes really urgent.
Yeah, those are the urgent. People talk about having, one of the things you mentioned was like out of control hunger. No, that's not. I mean, you're going to be hungry. Sorry to burst your bubble, people, but your own prep and you're giving your body less than it actually needs, not just less than it wants. You're giving it less than it needs. You're going to be hungry. This is not necessarily a sign that the diet is wrong. You're trying to get really lean. And the only way you can do that is by eating less than you need. Your body, it doesn't actually like this. It's
No.
like, yeah, there are
It's
other
like-
things I'd rather be doing.
So it's like when you say that my coach is starving me. Well, yes,
Yes.
that's the point. To an extent.
Thank you for your astute observation there, young athlete. Yes, I am starving you. You're quite right. And I'm going to smile while I do it. Yeah.
But again, to a point. Not our. I mean, yeah. Once you get below 1,000 calories, like that's you're pushing your luck there. I think, but yeah. The people who are on. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit more specific here. You know who you are. The people who are on like 1,700 calories. You are not starving. You are not suffering. Same with 1,500. Even that's still not really starving. Especially because you aren't that tall. Not the 1,500.
We're not going to name you, but you know who we're talking about.
Yeah, you're not dying. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay.
If you're sitting there right now going, are they talking about? We are. Yep. But the thing is, for people we don't work with, for other athletes out there, you can manage hunger, whether it's changing the meal timing around. Frequently, it's volume. You can visually trick your body to think you're eating more.
Smaller bowls. Smaller
bowls.
utensils. Smaller bowls is actually like really good. I find for me, like if I have a really big bowl and there's like 120 grams of rice in it, like that's actually decent enough prep. But that looks really sad.
Yeah.
It looks really sad in my ginormous bowls that we have for off season. Because at one point I had 300 grams of rice per meal. So these ginormous bowls, it looks really depressing and sad. But if I put it in a small bowl, I'm like, yeah, this is okay. This is fine. I'm happy with this.
Not so bad. Yeah. But there are volume foods, like from a carbohydrate perspective. It's like you can eat a truckload more pumpkin than you can rice.
Or even lettuce. You can trick your body into thinking more by having this big pile of lettuce. And you're like, oh, my bowl is full. You can have your big bowl full of lettuce.
Yeah. Because you got to eat a lot of lettuce to get any calories. And it's like, in fact, it's going to take you more energy to convert the lettuce in it.
If anything, it's hydration.
Yeah, literally. And you can also, like, moving your food around to more when you need it. Like, I'm obviously a big fan of carbohydrates around pre and post training because that's when your body needs it. But you can also do things like changing some of the macro breakdowns for certain meals, say later on at night. Like, if you're waking up at 3 a.m. feeling like your stomach's eating itself from the inside out, sometimes having a little bit of carbohydrates later on at night with a little bit of fats in it will slow down the digestion enough that you can actually have a decent night's sleep, which is kind of important.
This is why I usually try to backload my meals. I would rather be hungry in the morning. I'm okay with being hungry in the morning. That's okay. I can deal with that. Being hungry at night when you're trying to sleep, that's not okay. But I do know that one of our lovely girlies who we have been attacking a little bit today, I do know that she eats all of her meals early. And during a posing session, she told me that she had eaten all her meals by, I think it might have been 5 o'clock. Maybe PM.
Mm-hmm.
And she had finished all of her food for the day. And I was like, that sucks. So, yeah, she was definitely the person at school who ate all of their food by morning tea and then at lunchtime is begging everyone for food.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry.
So you're going to be hungry either way. Pick a time to be hungry.
Yeah. There's a difference between I'm hungry and I can't function like this. And and whether it's reality or fiction, the reality of it is if you are down in the, sub 1,000 calories, then you probably are starving. Well, technically speaking, you are. If you cannot string a thought together,
that's bad.
You're right. You can't function like that. And that is when you do have to ask the question, is this the right thing to be doing? And sometimes it may be a case of just reevaluating the time frame of when things are being done. Because, there's no point dying. This is not, for most of us competing, this is not the world champs or the Olympia. This is, a regional show held in a school hall auditorium somewhere. So
to kind of wrap up for today, for those of you deep in prep, please stop panicking. Most things that you are panicking about do not require panic. Okay?
Yeah.
They are all fixable. They are all things that can be, I guess, altered or like fixed, I guess is the best word for it. But they aren't crisis level like what you make out it might be. Yes, you are going to still feel the emotion either way, but just logically know and remember, hey, I have a coach for a reason, and I know that me thinking I look really soft is probably prep goggles. Or me thinking I'm flat and can't get a pump during a workout. Well, yes, that is normal because I haven't had carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So you can still double check things by your coach to make sure, but in most cases, it is going to be generally a little bit normal for prep, unless, again, like we say, you are feeling like you're going to pass out, you cannot string a thought together or a sentence, those kind of things. Those are obviously bad, but most cases, the crisis emergencies are not what you think they are.
It's generally not, not a crisis, as I said, unless it's a medical related stuff. And you also have to go through the mindset is it doesn't necessarily mean more is better. And it also doesn't necessarily mean less is better. And by that, I mean, it doesn't mean you arbitrarily have to increase how much energy you're spending. And you don't have to arbitrarily pull away food. There's two things we need to survive. We need food and we need water. You start taking those things away and your body will very quickly tell you to go take a long walk off a short period. And so don't just automatically think that you're falling behind. Don't automatically think it's a panic station. And for the love of God, don't start making decisions for yourself if you've hired a coach and say, well, I'm not going to tell the coach that I'm doing an extra half an hour of cardio. Or I'm not going to tell my coach that I've dropped my mid-afternoon meal because I feel I need to make more progress. Because your coach is making decisions on the information you're giving them and the information that they know. And if you're giving them false information, well, they're not going to fix the problem because you actually have a problem.
So talk to your coach. Make sure, the sky is not falling. Okay, it's okay. Calm. I know that's telling people to calm down when they're stressing. It's probably not the best thing to do all the time. But in general, just try to figure out, or try to think about, okay, logically, why is this happening? Try to use the logical side of your brain. I know it doesn't want to switch on at this point, but
No.
Just, what's the word? Acknowledge when you're feeling emotional and things feel catastrophic. Acknowledge that. And acknowledge that is going to be how you feel in prep. And that's okay. It is a normal feeling. It doesn't mean that that's not valid, but just remember, the worst thing you can do is continuously stress and panic about it.
Yeah, there's some things that are just not worth stressing about. Whether the weight's stalled for a couple of days, whether your sleep's been a little bit up and down. And there are some things that you just should not push through, and that's things like dizziness, fainting, spells of weakness, brain fog, for the love of God, chest pains and palpitations, which happens, vomiting, during workout, or even if your partner tells you that you're turning into a raving bitch and you're having some significant health problems, those are the sort of things you don't just push through them. Stop, step back and look at them and talk to your coach and talk to the people that are important to you because they are indicators of a problem. So you need to make sure that you get that taken care of. So,
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we shall leave you guys with that this week. And this weekend, or it will have just been, but we are going to Christchurch for the ICN South Island show. So our next podcast topic will probably be some kind of wrap up of that. Although I know that we will forewarn you guys, we probably won't be able to get through everyone because we will have a few athletes that we will be prioritizing for that show. So we might not be able to watch all of the people. So we apologize in advance for that.
That's code for if you're not wearing sparkles, we're probably not going to see you.
To be fair, even some of the people who are wearing sparkles, we may end up slightly missing, potentially.
We may miss some of them, yeah. But yes, as always, if you have enjoyed today's subject, hopefully you got something out of it. Then again, there's some cues that you can work on through your prep. Remember, it's never that bad. But if you have enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and YouTube. And we are always welcome to receive your feedback and questions. And if there's any subjects and matters that you'd like us to go through, by all means, do reach out to us. And other than that, have a great week. Enjoy your cardio. Enjoy your prep. And for those who are not prepping, good for you. And for those who are, get back on the treadmill.
The Stairmaster. Get back on the Stairmaster, I think you mean.
No, I don't like Stairmaster. That's
Okay.
that's an evil torture device. Well, some of you deserve it.
If
All right,
we
guys,
don't
have a
like
great
you,
week.
get back on the Stairmaster. Enjoy.